Welcome to Surrounded by Sports. I am here with Dennis D. Green Jr., construction, attorney at law, former Escambia County police officer, former offensive lineman during the Dynasty years at Florida State University, and current offensive line coach at Lighthouse College.
Yep.
All that's true.
It is true.
It's a lot.
Plus, I was a prosecutor in Houston, so you left that out.
You were a prosecutor? I didn't even. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't. In my stalking, I missed it.
Yeah. I was a assistant district attorney for Harris County for several years, and then moved back over here after Hurricane Sally. I started taking on a bunch of Hurricane Sally claims when I went out in private practice after the DA's office.
And then that just transitioned into what you do now.
Right. Yeah. Kind of. We handle everything from first-party insurance claims, construction litigation matters, business disputes, contract disputes. Every once in a while, I get wrapped into some administrative disputes with the government, and
Right.
help out where I can.
Right. So we're going to talk about all that. I want to talk about that. Of course, I'm a FSU person, so of course I'm going to want to talk about a little bit of that. But I think you can do that in the context of how that prepared you for all these steps.
Sure.
I want to know why a guy becomes in like 97, 98 officer of the law, and then decides in 2011 he wants to start to do more. And what motivated you to do
Sure.
that? What gave you the confidence to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that happened with Bobby a little bit.
Absolutely. I can tell you right now, going to Florida State, my first year there was in 1995.
Right.
And I remember, going in, everybody gets their head shaved. It's like a rite of passage.
Right.
But I remember the speech that Coach Chuck Amato gave all the new players coming in. And we were in the auditorium, and he said, all right, who here thinks they're going to the NFL? Everybody's raising their hand.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's every young kid's dream. Look,
Right.
That's why we play the sport. Everybody wants to go to the league. And Coach says, all right, everybody put your hands down except for you guys in the front row. You guys here in the front row, you're going to be the only ones on this team that are even going to get scouted by the NFL.
Right.
He said, now everybody but 4 people, put your hands down. He said, you 4 are actually going to get drafted.
Right.
3 of you put your hands down. There's 1 guy left sitting. And he said, you're going to be the only one that's actually going to play for, I think back then they had to play for 5 years to get their retirement.
Right.
He's like, you're the only one that's going to receive a pension from the NFL.
Right.
He said, gentlemen, do you know what that means? It means you're not going to the NFL.
Right.
And we're here to make you men, pillars of the community, good husbands, good fathers, and good leaders, in public. And that was really the whole crux of the program then under Coach Bobby Bowden was, I don't want to just create football players. I want to create men.
Right.
And it was about adversity. Everything there was centered around conflict, adversity, challenge, and strain. And especially Mickey Andrews. Coach Andrews, that was his big thing, was strain.
Right.
He wanted to strain you in such a way that whatever you faced, it would be easier than practice.
Right.
And that's why you saw a lot of high-level competition because, iron sharpens iron, right?
Of course.
And so what happened was back then, our offense and defense were completely separated.
Right.
We were 2 separate teams.
Uh-huh.
Separate buses, separate locker room area, separate housing, everything. We were completely segregated from defense. And that way it felt like every day at practice was a game and it was a challenge and it was always us versus them. Us. Like we didn't even get on the same bus. You weren't allowed to get on the same bus.
Right.
And it was that level of competition that really, I think, produced the success. And then, when Jimbo came in, they got rid of that. They started going into like the locker room was, you'd have a quarterback, a DB, a free safety, and then maybe a wide receiver.
Right.
Everybody's just mixed up all over the locker room.
Right.
So they changed a lot of that, and then they started doing more, I guess as a collective team.
Right.
And I think, in a certain aspect, when they started focusing on, you're here to go to the NFL, I think it starts to lose the character in the locker room. And I think I'm not saying they don't have great players over there. I'm sure they have some great characters there. But,
Right.
I see that more with Norvell.
Right. Well, that's a heck of a tease, because we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Lighthouse College. We're going to talk about getting your law degree, all that and more after this.
You are watching Surrounded by Sports, a podcast hosted by Kevin Perkins. This show emphasizes how sports and life intersect while showcasing the Gulf Coast. And now, Surrounded by Sports.
Okay, we are back with Dynasty Green, attorney at law. Also, we're going to talk about Lighthouse, which I think you need to check out if you're in the Pensacola area, because I find it to be kind of a special scenario.
It is. You know, when you look at what's going on right now with NIL in college football,
right,
and the way that recruiting's going, you know, back when I was playing ball, you know, you'd come home, you'd have a mailbox stuffed full of, you know, envelopes from schools all over the country. Right. You know, now, you know, of course, I don't think they do mail anymore. Everything's emails and
right.
Instagram text messages and whatnot. But if you're not a 4 or 5 star athlete, you're probably not getting recruited by a Power 5 college.
Right. Well, you know the motto speech you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, those teams that you were on, it was more than that one guy. But that was a good lesson to start with, right? Because then you kind of know what you're up against.
Yeah.
But going back, it's almost reduced to where that same room is what you're talking about to a high school and major college. Like, who here thinks they're going to go to the SEC?
Right.
Okay, everybody but these guys. Put
right.
You know, we're a really good team. We'll probably win district. You two guys will get talked to
right.
by an SEC school.
Right.
One of you will get to go to one.
Right.
And he's going to be bottom man on totem pole because, like you said, the 4 and 5 star guys, they get a shot, but the transfers of the 3 stars who matured take those slots that used to go to the 3-star guy.
Absolutely.
And Dave Wilson is the head coach at Lighthouse College. He's fantastic, wonderful man, but he's wanted to sit down and do some talks about that in the future.
Yeah, you know, I think what I'm seeing is the level of talent that we have there at Lighthouse Christian College it's mind-blowing. It's literally, I have my starting left tackle is 6'5", 6'6".
What's his name?
Josh Crandall.
Josh Crandall.
Josh Crandall, 6'5", 6'6", 290,
right.
maybe 295, and he's just great hands.
Great feet.
Yeah. Just a great player, high football IQ. He will be a name to remember. I promise you, he is going to go somewhere.
Right.
I have Titus Williams on my right tackle. I think he's like 6'8", 6'9". He's got to be 6'9", probably 340.
Right.
Just a big human being. He played 1 year of high school football in Kentucky, came down here, and think about this. So the opportunity these guys have, they got passed over for major colleges.
Right.
And now they get to come with a coaching staff like Coach Wilson, who's, you know, for people that don't know, you know, Coach Wilson was a defensive analyst under Mickey Andrews.
Right.
After he was at Washington High School with Derek Brooks, and he had won state championships.
Fort Walton, he was with Warfel.
Yep, Danny Warfel.
One state there, EG.
Yep, with EG, one of my teammates.
Right,
yeah.
and then he winds up with Bowden. He winds up with Chan Gailey. He's the head of recruiting there. He winds up with Jackie Sherrill.
Jackie Sherrill won an SEC championship.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy who's done, and then
he was the assistant head coach at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, think about it. You got a guy who used to be Georgia Tech's assistant head coach, and he's the head coach at Lighthouse Christian College.
Right.
You know, and then I got, and some of the other coaches that I coach with.
Your offensive coordinator was
Sam Satterwhite, yeah.
Did he intern at Bama?
So, yeah, he was a quality control guy with Bama under Saban for several years.
Right.
So he's got, you know, the Saban offense, and then, you know, you take that offensive mind, blend it with Dave Wilson's offensive acumen, and what you're seeing is some really explosive play calling. And everything that we do is designed.
Right.
So whether it's screen passes or, you know, tunnel screens, things to stretch the field out to make the defensive players run from side to side, and then we can gash them and run the ball.
Right.
It's all designed.
With Jamarcus Jefferson, who's a hammer.
Man. Yeah, Jamarcus, you know, the only problem for my offensive lineman when we block for him is if we give him an open hole, he's going to go find somebody to hit. I'm like, just run through the hole, man. You just run to daylight. He wants to hit somebody, you know. So it's cool.
And you're right, though. When I've been watching a lot of high school football over the years, and some smaller college football, along with, you know, what you get on TV all the time. And it seems like I was shocked at the level, because I do the PA over there, and I was just shocked at the level of what you guys are doing. Like how the teams you're playing against, they're not clean like you are.
No.
You know, and you rotate your quarterbacks, which is neat. It's Nunes and Chase Ray.
Yep.
And they both they run a similar offense, but it's a little bit different.
Right.
And you never see that work, but it does with y'all somehow. And you don't get a lot of penalties. It's a good, clean, high level of football you get to go watch. And you guys fill the stands.
Yeah.
Which is neat.
Yeah,
right?
you know, it's interesting because, you know, right now, you know, this is our second year. This is my first year coaching for them.
Right.
We demand a lot out of our players. We treat them as if we were at Florida State, Georgia Tech, you know, at SEC school. Same practice regimen. You know, we coach them up. Right. You know, Coach Keith Campbell's a local Pensacola native, played at Washington, played at Ole Miss, and he played with me at the Pensacola Barracudas. Yeah. So, you know, we're back together again, you know, in a capacity. And, you know, he's got we have so many guys in the secondary, I don't even know all their names.
Right.
You know, and we're constantly rotating those guys in and out. So it's good, clean, hard-hitting football.
Right.
We get after it. You know, I think last week we scored 55 points. I believe it was 55 to 14.
Right.
We still haven't gotten 300 yards on the ground.
First conference game,
yeah. But I told the team, the offense, if you give me 300 yards of rushing, I will take you guys to all-you-can-eat chicken wings at Buffalo Wild Wings over there in Navarre. And so they're, every day, man, they're getting on me. I'm like, nah, that was a forward pass. That didn't count as a run. And then we have to subtract if we have any sacks. And luckily, we don't have many sacks. I think we only had one sack last game. Right. The game before that, we had any sacks.
Yeah.
So as an offensive line coach, that's really what you want, is you want to be able to run the ball, dominate the line of scrimmage, control the clock, you know, game tempo, and then no sacks. You know, you don't want your quarterback getting drilled. That's not a 100%. Good thing.
Right. Now, another interesting tidbit, and we'll come back to Lighthouse in a minute, is that if you're curious, players at Lighthouse don't lose that eligibility when they get to the major colleges. So it's not like going to a junior college where your clock starts.
Right.
You know, which is a neat aspect of it too, which I hope, and I think you hope, will help with recruiting to bigger schools, maybe UWF, maybe someplace bigger.
Yeah, we'd like to do that. We have a good relationship with UWF, with South Alabama. We got guys on staff who know all those coaches. Good. Coach Wilson knows everybody. You know,
everybody.
Ronnie Cottrell got me in over there. He was my recruiting coordinator at Florida State when I was there.
Ronnie Cottrell was Bowden's top guy. He's over at T.R. Miller right
now. Yeah, he's at T.R. Miller.
Right.
Went back to his alma mater, had an opportunity to take over that head coaching job. I mean, heck, you're right down the road from your house. I mean, can't blame the guy for that. I'm sure his wife's a lot happier, so that's good.
Sure. Okay, now let's get back to you, though. You're born here?
I was actually born in Dothan, Alabama. My dad was stationed at Fort Rucker.
Okay.
And he worked for the Department of Defense. And then he got stationed at NAS Pensacola when I was 4. So we moved here in 1979. And
you were on that west side of Escambia side?
I am. Yep. Ended up going to Escambia High School, class of 93.
You played there?
I did. In our last game, we were 0-9, and our last game was PHS, and we hadn't beat PHS, I want to say, in like 4 or 5 years. Okay. And we were playing for a ye old wash tub, and I'll tell you what, we won, man. We won our final game my senior year against PHS, and it's a heck of a way to go out.
Well, tell me this: how do you get from no wins to Florida State? Or 1 win to Florida.
So I had a crazy journey. It was, I think if I would have been around back in the NIL deal, that's exactly how it would have happened. I was getting recruited by almost all the major universities, and then just for whatever reason, I slipped through the cracks for whatever reason. I don't know what it was. Ended up at University of Tennessee at Martin. Okay. And went there 93, 94. Right. It just wasn't for me. I was like, you know what? I'm just not feeling it. I was ready to get back home. Ended up going at Pensacola State College, Pensacola Junior College. Came home, tried to figure out what I was going to do next. Really didn't know. Still love football. And I still had a relationship with Coach Cottrell at Florida State. So one day I I go with a couple of my buddies from high school, and we go to a Florida State game, and I'm in the atrium after the game. I'm showing my buddies, hey, here's the trophies. This was,
So you were a fan all along.
Yeah. I was definitely a Florida State fan. Wasn't a rabid Florida State fan like I am now, but I was definitely absolutely a fan. Because I got recruited by them. I had unofficial visit, stuff like that. And, I was really, Clemson was in on it. I was almost went to Clemson.
Okay.
And I believe Danny Ford was the head coach back then.
Yeah.
And Emery Smith was the fullback, and he was recruiting hard for me to come up in there. And then something happened I think that staff got let go.
So Tommy was coming in probably.
Yeah.
Tommy Bowden.
He got let go. And then for whatever reason, that offensive line coach I had a relationship with, he's gone. He got fired.
Yeah.
And so back then, your signing date was in February. Well, Clemson didn't take me. I was talking with Rick Trickett. He was at Mississippi State. So I had Mississippi State on the hook. Well, then Rick Trickett gets let go.
Oh.
He ends up at Auburn.
Right.
So I call Trickett up when he's at Auburn and try to get with them. They already had whoever they were going to take. Mm-hmm. So they already had their offensive lineman pick. So I fell through that crack, after Florida State didn't offer, Clemson didn't offer, and then when Mississippi State didn't offer, and now the clock's run out, it's February, everybody's already got their guys. So it's,
right.
You're on a hot seat, man. You're in the carousel. And so now here I am, a guy that's gotten, I have one Notre Dame story. Notre Dame, I thought that was pretty awesome. Notre Dame came in to check me out at high school, and they walked in, they went to the academics, and then they turned around, got in their car, and drove off. I never talked to them. so I guess that was when they were trying to compete with all the Ivy League schools.
Right.
That was in 92, 93.
Right.
And so, but I still have my Notre Dame letter because that was, as a Catholic here in the Panhandle.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, a huge deal. That would have been awesome to go play for Notre Dame. But ended up playing them in 95 in the Orange Bowl, and we beat them.
Right, in the comeback.
Yeah.
Anything else to end the coop, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
So you're in the atrium.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. So yeah, I was in the atrium showing my buddies, and I heard Dennis Green, son, what are you doing?
Okay.
It was Ronnie Cottrell.
Awesome.
He said, "What are you? Where are you now?" I was like, "Oh, I'm in Pensacola." He said, "You're not playing football?" I said, "No, sir." I said, "I was at Tennessee Martin, just didn't work out. I wasn't feeling it. I really had my heart set going on D1 college, and if I'm gonna go get beat up, man, I'm gonna go somewhere and have some fun." He said, "Well, when are you graduating from Pensacola State College?" And I told him, I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty much fast tracking. I should be done this summer."
Right.
He said, "Call me on Monday." I said, "All right, yes, sir, we'll do it." I called him on Monday. I came in as a preferred walk-on, and came in. I was an early transfer in the summer, in 95, and buddy, they put me to work.
Yeah.
They put me to work.
Yeah.
That's how it happened.
Right. Now, going to how heavy? Because first of all, how heavy is that workload when you're a big-time college athlete? They're expecting a lot of your time in the morning. They probably are expecting your time in the afternoon. You've got tutoring, I'm sure.
So, I mean, I can only speak for the 90s.
Right, of course.
Things were a little different.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, things were a lot different. I'm not going to say that we would only go to, class 3 times a year, drop ad, midterm, and final. So you find ways to maximize your time to do what you do. If I had to do it over again, I probably would have been more studious.
Right.
I say that to my players too all the time. I'm like, hey, you're always going to have some overweight 50-year-old guy telling you back in my day, blah, 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 blah. And you guys are going to be like, yeah. But I'm like, guys, I'm serious. Like, one day you're going to hang your helmet up. And when you do, what does that look like?
Right.
You don't think about it when you're 18, 19 years old.
Of course.
But as older men, we kind of look back on the past. But, that's really, what set us up was, the classes that did take attendance. If you missed and it got reported, because they do roll call for all the student athletes.
Yeah.
You're running 83 rows up and 83 rows down.
Yeah, those are big stadiums to have to run if you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's not good. You don't want to do that. So the classes they took attendance, you were there. The classes they didn't take attendance, you know.
Right. Now, obviously you were there, and I'm going to get derailed here for a second on the Florida State stuff. You were contemporary with Walter Jones.
Yes. Walter Jones.
He's maybe the greatest offensive lineman to ever live.
Yeah, I mean, he's NFL Hall of Fame. So he was starting. Trey Thomas was there. He was the other tackle. Yeah, he was a first-round draft pick also. Yeah. Went to the Philadelphia Eagles, played with them for a long time.
Right.
Then you had Todd Fordham, Big Earl. Yeah. He ended up going, I think he was a preferred free agent and went on with either Jacksonville or the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of those, ended up getting cut. But, you know, if you that was the tackles, and then there was me. Right. So, you know, here it is. I go from a preferred walk-on. Within 2 years, I'm second string. Right. Which is crazy. Right. And we're talking about in the 90s, we were in the top 5 every year for like 10 years in a row. I mean, it was nuts.
Well, tell me this too. Now, okay, Rhiannon Wilson, Peter Boulware, Roy, Corey Simon, Wadsworth. All these guys get drafted. All these guys play
Connell Spain.
And you're dealing like how. I assume you got whipped in practice frequently.
No, I can tell you the players that did whip me: Renard Wilson and Pete Boulware, just on the speed rush. I probably would have been a better guard than a tackle. I'm kind of a tweener. Right. I really wasn't as bigger framed for the guard position.
Which is weird because you're big.
Right, yeah. But those tackles are really big because Trey Thomas was probably 6'9", 6'10". Right. Walter Jones, 6'6". Yeah. You know, really long arms. You know, I think mine are like, 37, something like that. I wear a 37 shirt. But, you know.
But those are tough days in practice.
They were. So, you know, which it's funny because in the spring game, I gave up 4 sacks to Pete Boulware.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said.
But you weren't going to play at Pete Boulware during the season. Unless you played Miami or Florida.
But you got to understand, every day in practice, who did I go up against? Right. You know what I mean? So for me, my reality was, I'm horrible. I can't play this game because I can't block Pete Boulware. Right. Well, then Pete Boulware is a first-round draft pick. Right. NFL Rookie of the Year. Yeah. I don't. Is he in the Hall of Fame? I'm not sure.
I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame, but he was so good. He was so good that there was a time when he had hurt his shoulder, and they put it in a harness while he was with the Ravens, and he was still dominating at the NFL level with one arm.
Yeah, I mean the guy was just a beast. But then I'd take a play against like Andre Wadsworth, and boom, handle him. Yeah. Corey Simon, boom, handle him. Right. Connell Spain, he went to Tampa Bay, bam, handle him. Right. Jerry Johnson played for the Denver Broncos. Yeah. Handle him, right? So then I'm like, I can handle all those guys in the NFL. Right. And then, but I got these 2 first-round draft picks, Renard Wilson and
something
Pete
about
Boulware,
that matchup speed, bro.
And that was they were cheetahs, man. But here's the other thing too. I'm bench pressing. Probably back then I was doing about 485 pounds was my max on bench press. Yeah. Those guys could bench 450 pounds. Right. And they're running 4.4, 4.5s.
Yeah. The NFL is full of weirdly freaks. Crazy athletes.
Right. They're just freaks, man. Right. And it was one of those things where I realized at practice that first year, I'm not going to the NFL. Right. You know it. You know what I mean? Like,
right. There's a difference between me and them.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I can be really good at this level.
Right. I can. But what I did was I really studied the game. That's where, you know, your first year, you're there, you're on scout team. Right. So you'll have a little interaction with your offensive line coach, but the majority of the time, you're sitting in the defensive room as a scout team player. Okay. I don't know if they still do that, but they did with us. So I'm in with Chuck Amato, Odell Higgins. Okay. And you know, Coach Higgins really taught me a lot because now I'm watching what these defensive linemen are doing. What's their thought process? What are they? Why are they teaching them? Why are they wrong arming plays and how to spill it and what they're looking for? And then I'm watching Chuck Amato coaching linebackers, and I'm like, oh wow, there is a lot to this game, right? That I had no exposure to in high school. And it made me a better player because now I understand what my enemy's doing. Right. And then like Pete Boulware one time, they wanted me to reach him on like a toss sweep. Right. I'm like, you want me to go reach Pete Boulware on a sweep? Heck, I'm having a hard time just blocking the guy. I need somebody to chip him back inside so I keep my hands on him, right?
Yeah.
Well, then I started figuring out how to play smarter.
Right.
What I would do is I would attack his inside as if we're running an isolation inside play in the inside gap. And what would he do?
Right.
He'd try to stuff inside on it. And as soon as he'd do it, I'd log him.
Right.
So I would do that on a sweep. I would block it as if it's an ISO, but it's really a sweep. And now I got position on it. And then when I go to block him on an ISO, I treat it like a sweep and reaches outside. And he starts flowing outside. The hole just opens up.
Right.
That right there taught me that an offensive lineman can outsmart a physically superior opponent.
Right.
And that's what it gets down to. And I teach that to my players all the time.
Right.
Hey, you know what? We're not robots. We're not non-playable characters, right? You're not a bunch of NPCs.
Right.
You have to adapt to your environment. And I want to say Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right. 100%.
And you get punched in the face in that first play. I'm gonna tell you right now, we can get on the sidelines. I'll draw up all kinds of crazy stuff. And in this one play we're running, all of a sudden it's turned into some kind of power trap.
Right.
So
what you're talking about though, let's go in, because a lot of what we do here at Surrounded by Sports is talking about how life, sport intersect.
Right.
And you go on to work at Escambia County as a police officer. Again, you've got to evaluate scenarios similar, I would think, to a defensive end in that they're aggressive, right? They're trying to get to somewhere. I would think that in a police scenario, you're observant and then dealing with it.
So,
and I would assume the courtroom is very similar.
Oh, yeah, it is. So it's funny you say that. Learning your opponent and how your opponent thinks has been the key for my entire life as a young man.
Right.
So from Florida State, being an offensive lineman, learning defense. What's my opponent doing? Why are they doing it? And then you become a deputy sheriff.
Right.
So they wanted me to be a grad assistant, and I'm kind of a knucklehead, and I was like, nah, I think I'm gonna go be a cop.
Right. You got a criminology degree.
Yeah, I got my degrees in criminology. I got that in 97, and I entered into the police academy in 98 and got hired by Escambia County Sheriff's Office in 98. And what I did was I was big into drug interdiction, a lot of narcotics and stuff like that. And what I did was I knew my case law. I knew search and seizure. Mm-hmm. And I would attack every arrest as if I was a defense attorney. Where am I weak? Where am I strong? Is my probable cause weak? I need to make sure I bolster that. Do I need written statements? I've gotten...
Because the rest doesn't matter if they walk.
Right, because then you can do all the rest in the world, but it doesn't do any good if you don't have a case that you can prosecute.
Dude, your prosecutor had to love you.
So, yeah, I mean, I didn't lose very many cases at all. They were very airtight because I didn't have one or two probable cause statements. I had like 3 or 4. So I'd get them like crossing the line, failing to stop behind the line, whatever, speeding, and then defective equipment, right? And so then I'd come up there and I would literally say, I'm going to give you a verbal warning for these 3, but here's a citation for this one. I'd notated in the report. I made sure all my consent to search was valid, followed all the case law, and that way everything's properly documented, and you got cases that typically you're not going to go to court on.
Right.
And then that transitioned over to me being a prosecutor.
Right. What made you decide? You've been doing it for 11 or 12 years. What made you decide it's time to shift?
So I was at the sheriff's office, and I get bored real easy if I'm not challenged.
Okay, yeah.
And I like to be challenged.
That goes back to Florida State. That goes back.
That's
that goes
definitely
back to
a
putting on
challenge.
that uniform every day in Escambia
It's a
County.
challenge, right?
Yeah,
And then it got to a point where, there's a change in the administration. It wasn't the same old job. I think I had like 5 or 6 years on the job, 6, 7 years on the job. And I was just like, I'm burned out, man. I'm just burned out. I want to do something else. And I was dating this girl. Her stepdad owned Arthur Rutberg Homes. Uh-huh. And he said, you ought to go be a builder. He goes, make a lot of money. It's a good career. He said, if it doesn't work out for you, you can always go back being a cop. I said, you know what? I don't have anything to lose. Why not? So I became a builder, and I was a superintendent, started building houses down in Sarasota, learned the construction trade. It's also very methodical, and that worked well for me too. So I already had the people skills of dealing with, rough characters, and a lot of those people ended up being tradesmen.
Yeah,
so
right.
you know how to deal
All
with
kinds of people.
Oh yeah, you have to be a people person to be a cop, because
Right.
if you don't, you're going to end up beat up. Because they don't. If you're a lone deputy sheriff in Century, Florida, and you think somebody's going to do something because you said so, because you have a badge and a gun, they do not care. So you have to learn how to deal with people, because you might not have backup up there.
Convince them it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where the law
Suggestive
enforcement.
selling.
So it was a lot of suggestive selling. Sir, would you mind just putting on these handcuffs, please? Thank you. I don't feel like fighting. But you take the law enforcement background, you put it over into construction, learn how to deal with people and situations, and then also thinking about it. If I was a homeowner, what would I look for in this house? What would I accept?
Look at it from their point of view.
Right. And I always try to do that, right, with everything that I do. So, then it was a thing where I had a few tricks I got taught by Mr. McNabb. And Mr. McNabb taught me things like how to be a really good superintendent is it's in the framing stage, right? So the framers are there, they're putting up everything. He goes, wait till they get off the job. They go home for the day, right? They punch out about 3:30. Go get a level. Find you a header, find you something, and go put a level on it. And then remember, if it's a little bit uneven, if it's running, and then the next day go in there and you're walking around, you go, hey man, Johnny, how's it going? And you look and you go, man, I think that header's running a little bit. It looks like it's probably like a 1/4 inch out. What are you talking about? Yeah, man, that don't look right, man. I think that thing's out, man. Go put a level on it. They'll go put a level. Oh my God. They started calling me Eagle Eye.
Now you're a savant.
Yeah, they're like, I can't get anything over on this dude, man.
Right.
He's like ripping me apart, And I'm like, yeah, check that out. Yeah, that mantel's off. Check, look at that. And, and,
You ever hear, this is all totally all, but you ever hear the stories about how Van Halen would be like, no green M&Ms?
No. Oh, yeah. Okay, and they're writers.
Right,
Yeah.
the writer?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the purpose of that wasn't that they didn't like green M&Ms. They had a bunch of stuff that had to do with their equipment that they needed to be sound. And when they looked in the M&M bowl, they saw a green M&M, they knew I got to go check everything.
Because you haven't done it. You haven't paid attention. Yeah, I see that. Yeah. I just thought they were being weird.
Yeah, right.
I
that's
didn't know.
the trick.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It sells good too.
Never did.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, but then when do you transition into going back to school to be a lawyer?
I ended up rising up through the ranks with Arthur Ruttenberg.
And you've got a construction company.
And I had become a licensed builder. So I'm a Florida certified building contractor.
Yes, sir.
I became the president of Arthur Ruttenberg Homes here in the Panhandle from Pensacola over to Destin. Mm-hmm. So this was my territory. I had Building Company 59. I was the president, and that was right around 2004.
Okay.
And the collapse happened.
Right. Bottom fell out.
Yeah. So I go from building multi-million-dollar houses to I don't know if I'm going to have a job in a few months when these houses are done and complete.
Right.
So I had to do a lot of soul searching and try to figure out, okay, what is it you're going to try to do? And I really didn't know. I really didn't want to go back being a cop.
Right.
I said, well, making really good money as the president of the company, maybe I can go back at the sheriff's office and do something other than just be a deputy and make money. So at that time, David Morgan was running for sheriff. He's a candidate. He's running as a Republican. Didn't have anybody running against him. I want to say, let me take that back. He had one opponent, and it was Ron McNesby.
Okay.
So Ron McNesby wasn't going to bring me back because I resigned.
Right.
And so they kind of get hard feelings on that. So I didn't come back, and I supported David Morgan. He won the sheriff's race.
Right.
So David says, hey, I need a staff inspector. I don't know what that is, but I'll do it, boss.
Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. So he brought me on as the staff inspector, which is like an attorney general, right? Like an inspector general.
Right.
Not attorney general, inspector general.
Right.
And you come into these different departments and you make evaluations and recommendations and like, hey, I noticed in your traffic division, we don't have enough motorcycle or safety equipment or whatever. And you write up your proposal, send it to the staff command.
Right.
Did that for a while. While I was doing that, they were offering to pay for a master's degree. And so I ended up getting my master's in business administration from Troy University in, public administration, not business administration,
Right.
public administration.
Right.
I really got a lot out of that. The MPA program it's really like a microscope looking into the management of people versus Masters of Business Administration is like a microscope looking into like the nuances, the finances, the business component. And so for me, taking that class in public administration opened up my eyes to like Myers-Briggs and personality profile typing and and how to teach people, how to lead people, what motivates your subordinates. Is it praise? Is it threat of force? Is it discipline? Like what is their, how do you get people to do what you want them to do and manage people?
Right. I'm a geek on all that stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing. So everything I learned in the public administration master's program, I end up using it now in coaching and picking juries.
Right. Right.
Because it's all about how do I get the best and most out of my players? Do I need to yell and scream? Mm-hmm. Or do I need to pat them on the butt and go, hey, buddy, good job, man, good job? Do they need praise? What are they looking for?
Or is there a
accolades?
median?
Or is it, right, yeah. And so, the Myers-Briggs thing, the personality profile typing is, are they a logical thinker and that's how they make their decisions? Or are they a feeler and they use feelings and emotions?
Right.
Because depending on what kind of case you have, and if you're the defendant or, the prosecution or the plaintiff, maybe, and I don't have good facts, you know what they say in the law, right? Like if the law's on your side, pound on the law. If the facts are on your side, pound on the facts. And if neither are on your side, you just pound on the table. So, it really pertains, it's perfect because like if you have a case that's real emotionally charged and it's in your favor, maybe you want to go with those emotional people and pick them in the jury. So, that process lasted for a while. I ended up getting my master's. And then when I graduated, it was right there in 2010, getting into 2011. I was kind of hit my ceiling. I knew they weren't going to bring me in as like a commander or a captain or anything like that. Right. The only thing I probably could have done was I ended up kept my credentials. I was a reserve deputy sheriff. Said, it's time. I'm feeling restless, and I just had this thing like, why don't I just take the LSAT and go to law school? What do I got to lose? The housing market hadn't come back yet, right? And that's what I was waiting on,
right?
So the housing market wasn't fully back. I said, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to go to law school. So at 38, I took the LSAT, got admitted. My sister was living in Atlanta at the time, and I got admitted in Atlanta's John Marshall Law School. And my sister was going through some personal problems and issues, a rough time in her life. And, it was good I was there for her and helped her out. So that's how I ended up in Atlanta. And
that's always the main team, ain't it? Your family.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. And so, but you're talking about 96, 97, and you're finishing school up 2014 with a brand new career. You talked about how at Escambia and sometimes at Florida State, you weren't maybe academically driven.
I wasn't.
But you found that spot.
I did. It was in the master's program.
Right. You learned to challenge yourself, though,
right.
along the way.
Right.
And eventually you started looking for other challenges.
Yeah.
And you're a smart guy. You just had to figure that out.
I always knew I was smart. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'll say that. I'll tell you this. What I'm really good at is finding people that are successful and replicating what they're doing.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's a gift.
And it's like, Mr. McNabb, he was my mentor. He owned 3 or 4 Arthur Rutenberg franchises. I learned how to build and construction from him. I got that gift from him. My first job out of law school was with a construction litigation law firm in Sarasota. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Gurley hired me. They never hire guys fresh out of law school. Doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. But he was a Florida State guy. I knew his nephew. His nephew ran track at Florida State. He's one of my buddies. Yeah. And he's like, you need to go talk to my uncle, man. He's got a construction litigation firm down there. He's like, you're a licensed builder. You've built houses, and now you're going to be a lawyer? Yeah, man, this is a perfect fit for you.
Yeah. For that particular job, it's like you were made in a bottle.
Yeah, exactly. So I got hired on at Gurley Vitale, And Ben Vitale was the other partner. Now, he was my day-to-day mentor.
Right.
And that guy was good. And when I mean good, I don't mean good to work for. He made you good.
Right.
And he's the one that really invested in me to perfect my craft because, my pleadings were sloppy. Attention to detail wasn't there. And the lessons that he taught me stayed with me as an attorney all the way through, so much so that eventually when I went out on my own, I could handle everything from discovery. I can draft discovery, propound discovery, respond to it. I can draft complaints, counterclaims. I can do everything myself.
Right.
A lot of attorneys can't do that.
Right.
And so he was a lead attorney for Firestone Tires in Atlanta, Georgia, back during the big SUV rollovers.
Big company.
He taught me discovery, litigation.
Yeah.
And I really took to it. But like a lot of things, you're there for a couple of years and you're kind of like, okay, where's this guy? I want to go to trial. I want to be a real lawyer.
Okay. Is that how you want to be in a district attorney?
I want to be a real, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I went to the boss. I was like, hey, I want to try cases. And he said, well, son, we're not doing that here. Because we did a lot of surety bonds and surety law, dealing with big condominium claims, 20, 30, 40, $50 million bond claims.
Right.
One of them was a $200 million bond claim in Miami we were handling. And we got prepared for trial, and just our trial proposal was about $750,000 in attorney's fees just for us to go to trial.
Goodness.
You're not going to go to trial. It's complex
Right.
business litigation. It's not going to happen. He said, you know what, Dennis? He's like, I got my start as a prosecutor. Maybe you ought to go do that.
There you go.
Okay, I'll go look at it. So I had a buddy who had a connection with Pinellas County State Attorney's Office. Had an interview. They offered, and starting pay was like half of what I was making at that law firm. And I was
Right.
like, I don't think this is going to work, man.
Right.
So I started looking around, and Houston was starting their assistant district attorneys at like a little bit more than what I was making at this firm.
Right.
And then within 2 or 3 years, you're making over $100,000.
Right.
Back then,
It's good money.
10 years ago, that's great money. So I was like, you know what? The only thing stopping me is the Texas bar. I'll go take me another bar. If I can
Right.
pass Florida, I can dang sure pass Texas.
Right.
So went out there, passed the Texas bar, and within, I want to say 3 months of passing the Texas bar, I was getting sworn in as a assistant district attorney.
Wow, what a trip.
And yeah, and within, I want to say a couple years, I'd already moved up to felony 3. I'd already been the acting chief of the county court division, handling misdemeanors. And if you want trial experience, you're going to go get your teeth cut over there. You want some trials, they're going to give them to you.
Yeah.
You're going to get them.
Yeah,
and then,
right.
and it's trial by ambush. You can have 4 or 5 trials set for the same day. You don't know which one's going to go, and the judge will just call it. State, you ready? Yes, Your Honor. State's always ready.
You're ready for 4.
And you better you're bringing it.
Right,
And then
right.
and I like to fill in on some cases if they needed just somebody just to run in off the rip. I don't know anything about this case. Call your first witness. Officer Jones. So let's talk about your training experience as a police officer.
Yeah.
Well, for me, that was easy.
Yeah.
Because I was a cop.
Right.
And so it just flowed natural. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed working at the DA's office. But after about a couple of years, I was getting that itch again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, I got to do something, man. I'm ready to go out on my own. My cousin had a blockchain company. He started up in a telecommunication company in South Alabama. He was just trying, I need a general counsel. Nobody knows this stuff. Contract law. You worked at a construction litigation firm. You're a litigator. Come work for me. I said, well, I'll tell you, I'll make you a deal. Pay me exactly what I'm making now in the felony division.
Right.
Plus, give me permission to moonlight. I'll do it.
Yeah.
He said, deal. Why wouldn't I?
Right.
So I'll go out in private practice. So now I have an opportunity to go out in private practice. I'm general counsel for a blockchain and telecommunication company.
Right.
The only problem is they're stationed in Alabama. So what does that mean?
Alabama bar.
There you go, Alabama bar. So then I went and took my 3rd bar.
There's a pattern.
Yeah. Needless to say, I don't have that itch anymore for taking bar exams.
Right.
So I'm good.
Right. Yeah.
I'm good on that. But that's how it transitioned over into that. But what's funny is in the background of all those different career changes, one thing's always been constant. coaching.
Right.
So when I was at Arthur Ruttenberg Homes, I was a volunteer coach
Right.
at Gulf Breeze High School with Matt Alt. Matt Alt, he's the
Right.
athletic director there. Back then, he was the freshman head coach.
Okay.
And that's how I met Coach Alt.
Uh-huh.
And I coached the offensive line, freshman. It was met some great players, man. Like, I still have friendships with them now.
Right.
We still stay in contact with each other. We're on Facebook and all that. It's fun to watch those men mature and have families
Right.
and move on. So it's really awesome. And it satisfies you in a way that, sometimes your desk job can't.
Well, let's take a break real quick. I'm going to run an ad, and then we're going to come right back. And I want to talk to you. We're going to wrap just talking about what you get out of coaching, because that's
Sure.
where we're at anyway on this.
Yeah.
Okay? We'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. I am here with Dynasty Green, attorney at law, Lighthouse coach, a whole list of other things. Thank you to Faust Builders, McCory Homes, Sideline Sports Bar and Grill, who sponsor these shows and allow me to chase how life and sport can intersect. We have a perfect case right here as you've taken the lessons you learned through sport along with other lessons and found mentors through life. But as you said, you have always stayed in the coaching realm, or at least since you came back.
I have. I've always stayed in contact with some of my coaches. Prime examples, Coach Trickett, Rick Trickett. If folks don't know who he is, you go check him out. He's a character.
Yeah.
I like a lot of his coaching philosophies. Even though he was never my coach, I've bought all of his books.
Yeah.
I watch him on the internet when he'll speak at coaching conventions. So I'd go to coaching conventions, and I really
you've got a full-time job.
But
You're going to a coaching convention.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm in Orlando. I'm in a coaching convention, and I'm staying up to date on what are the latest trends in offensive line.
But do you have a core philosophy
For offensive line?
Yeah.
I do, and it's be smart.
Right.
No, it's more than that. It really is. I like zone blocking. For me, it's more of you have to feel it as a unit, right? Like, too many times we're so rigid in our rules, like, that's my man, that's your man, well, is it really? Because it's chaos, and people don't move how you want them to move. And so what if they run a Tampa 2 stunt or a twist stunt or something that's, that guy's not there anymore, now what do I do? And so what I try to teach the players is, hey, man, you have to be a student of the game.
Right.
You guys have access to materials and information that we never had.
Right.
So if I want to learn how to be a great pass blocker, I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to look up, all right, how to perfect my kick slide or pass blocking in college, and what does that do? How do you do it? And then what I do is, because I've played it, I teach my kids the tools of the trade, the tricks. This is what's going on. How do I know that? Well, because I played with guys that are in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Right.
And guess what they're doing? They're teaching us.
Right.
So when you first get there, it's like, this isn't Little League. And a lot of times, and you'll see that too, you'll see the Little League bad tendencies coming out. I have one player who he'll come out when he shoots his hands, he does this.
Oh.
So what happens when you do this? You start catching, right? You're not
pushing, you're catching.
You're catching, right?
Yeah.
I say, hey man, I believe in 1%. And the 1% philosophy is this. I say, gentlemen, do you know what compound interest is? They just look at you like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Compound interest, 1%. If you get 1% better every single day, that 1% compounds on top of that other 1%.
Yeah.
So today, our 1% is, hey, for you, it might be your hands. For you, it might be your stance. For you, it might be your first step. For you, it might be your third step. And focus on that one thing and fix it. And now it becomes a habit.
Right.
So I believe in fundamentals, starts and stances, hand placements, and the guys have really responded well to it. I mean, like Crandall's probably, my left tackle is probably the best at it, where I've taught him now, instead of, you come up from below and shoot your hands. Well, now I got him, because, defensive ends are going to club. So you know what I tell him to do now? Shoot your inside hand. Hold this one back. So he started doing it in practice. And guess what? This guy's good at club, and they're clubbing air.
They got nothing. Right.
And then you jam the second one in there, and now you ride that guy out.
Right.
And he's really taken to it. What are the tricks for when a guy wants to do the inside pass rush? What do you do then? Well, seal it off with your helmet, take your thumb, get up under their arm pad, and just dump them down on their head.
Right.
And so you're starting to pass these tricks off to your players.
And what does that do for you?
It's awesome. I to watch them come from like these unpolished stones, and now you get somebody with precision hands and footwork, and he's not getting tricked on these stunts, and he's starting to get into it. And then when you see them moving in unison, it's like you're directing a musical or something. Like you're a conductor.
Yeah. In basketball, they call it on a string. Like the defense has to move together on a string, right?
Right.
And that's the same thing. You want your line to be on a string.
Yeah, I get really pumped up when I see a good hole open up. We got a good, we're scooping hard on the backside. We got a good cut back. And the guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's almost musical, right? Like there's something to it. Like
a symphony. But also, you can't get that in the business world.
No.
You have to be in a coaching environment to kind of get that, or some form of a teaching environment, correct?
Well, a prime example is, the winning aspect. I hate to lose.
Of course.
I even hate to lose when I'm supposed to lose.
Right.
And as a lawyer, I've been very blessed lately. I've been on a pretty good winning streak.
Yeah.
A lot of my motions for summary judgment are getting granted. I'm winning.
Yeah.
I'm getting, attorney's fees, provisions awarded to me. But you know what it is? We put in the work, right? And it's the same thing. I get that. I get that same challenge here in the law. If I lose a hearing, I'm flustered for probably about an hour or so. Like I almost have to take the day off. Like it gets in my head. You know what I mean? Like I almost feel like I need to take a step back, and then I analyze, okay, what did I do wrong? Where it's almost like a game. Well, it is a game.
Absolutely.
It is a game. Life's a game. And that's my other philosophy to the kids is, hey man, life is tough. Life is not fair. It's never going to be fair. It's not designed to be fair.
Right.
And you got to go and take it. Nobody's going to give it to you. So, the other night I'm up at 1 something in the morning filing motions on a pro bono case.
Right.
Who does that?
You do.
I do. Right. But it's that work ethic, that grind. Nobody's going to outwork me.
Right.
Matter of fact, the attorney today in the hearing said, Your Honor, before Mr. Green came in, there was only like 50 docket entries. And since he's been in for 8 days, we're up to number 83 right now. Mm-hmm. That's because I'm getting in there and I'm outworking this guy.
Right.
And I do the same thing on my offensive line. Nobody's going to outwork us.
Right.
And football is life. You're going to get fired from a job. You're going to get let go from a job. You might get let go in a marriage, or relationship.
And you have to deal with that.
Are you going to just sit there and, and I'm going to tell you right now, there was a period of time in between when I was down in Tampa doing construction and got laid off from one job, ended up driving Uber.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was
you needed income.
But I needed income. I knew I was getting picked up with the out in Houston as a DA.
Right.
I said, man, why do what I got to do, right? I'm not too proud.
Right.
I'm going to go out and drive Uber. And that's what I tell my players, like, hey, man, I'm teaching you how to face adversity, strain.
Right.
If you can battle this, there's nothing that can break you. And that's what Florida State did.
That goes back to Mickey Andrews. That goes back to Chuck Amato. That goes back to conflict.
Yep, exactly. And that's where they would push you so hard in mat drills. And when you finally realize the coach can't break you, you become unbreakable. It's limitless.
Right. Everything opens up for you.
Yeah, man. Hey, you better kill me because I'm not going to stop. I'm never going to stop. I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to stop. And that's, Chuck Amato's thing is when you walk into a room, you own it, you command it, and you demand respect, right?
Right.
You give respect, but you demand respect.
Right.
And that was Chuck Amato's thing. Like you go into that job interview, you own it. You own everybody in that room.
I'm here for a reason.
Yeah. I'm here to do work.
Right. And it's good for you I made it here.
Yeah, you're lucky I'm here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's really what we brought to the table, because winning was not ever talked about. It was expected.
Right.
Perfection, striving for perfection.
Right.
And Coach Bowden had a very simple rule, and I tell it to my players. Be where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing it. He said, boys, if you follow that, you'll never have a problem with the police, the IRS,
Your wife?
your wife, and most importantly, God. And that was his thing.
Right.
And it was a simple philosophy. He's like, think about it, boys. If you got to pull on a trap play and the guard, you're not there where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing it.
It don't work.
It doesn't work. The whole thing's messed up. Mm-hmm. We might as well just pack our bags and go home.
It can be work done back there.
It doesn't matter.
It don't matter. It doesn't work.
And you know, if the offensive line, if you're not, and it's such a simple philosophy, but it's true.
Yeah.
And it goes for everything in life.
Yeah.
Everything in life.
Let's wrap on that, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I will see you at the ballpark.
And you'll probably see me at sidelines, because they got great wings on Thursday night. Can't beat the teriyaki wings, man.
Come get 'em,
Those
man.
are my favorite.
Come get him. Also, of course, I'm going to want you back to talk more about nuts and bolts of offensive line and Lighthouse and
Yeah,
everything.
we'll talk
else.
more about Lighthouse and kind of what we got going on over there.
Yeah.
Love to do that.
Let's do it. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Faust Builders, McCory Homes, Sideline Sports Bar and Grill, thank you very much for allowing me to chase knowledge wherever I can find it. Today I found it from Dennis Green. Appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy.
Awesome.